Hey there, I'm Diane Jimenez, owner and founder of One Tidy Place. I created this podcast because I know parents have their hands full. I know this because I have 3 of my own. Parenthood is challenging enough as it is, and getting organized sounds easier said than done. Now, combine these 2 together, and it's truly a balancing act that many of us struggle with day in, day out. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Let's do this. Before we get started, I just want to know if you've picked up my PO cheat sheet yet. What's it about? Well, if you're looking to finally tackle those back burner projects like the overstuffed closets, unorganized kitchens, or neglected garages and storage spaces, now thinking of hiring a professional organizer has got you overwhelmed. What questions do you ask aside from how much and when can you start? What are other things to consider before your first consultation? Using my cheat sheet will help guide you through with getting your thoughts organized and asking those commonly missed questions. There are tons of pro organizers out there, and my cheat sheet will help you narrow down the right one for your project based on your specific needs, family situation, capabilities, and availability. So head to dianejimenez.com/PO cheat sheet, all in one word. That's dianejimenez.com/PO cheat sheet today. Well, hey there, friend. Welcome back to another episode of the Parenting Guide, Organizing Habits Made Easy podcast. And I'm your host, Diane Jimenez. So if you're just tuning in for the first time, welcome. Today is part 2 of a 2-part series where I share with you 5 ways to get kids to listen. So if you haven't yet, go back to the last week's episode, which I'll link in the show notes below, and have a listen to part 1. I'll wait. I'm kidding. So whether you're here listening for the first time and you're listening to this episode first and then part 1 afterwards, it's all good. There's no particular order, but do take this all in with an open mind and do have a listen to last episode too. There are some great tips and resources to check out that will help you in your whole parenting journey. In regards to these tips I'm listing for you today, test one method out with your family and see if it works. Repetition is encouraged. What's parenthood without it, right? Okay, now that we got all that straightened up, let's just quickly recap the ones from last week and move on from there. Number 1, let's look at the big picture. This method is about zooming out and looking at our situation from an aerial point of view. Number 2, future homeowner story. This method contrasts what their habits and behaviors are like today with the results if they continue down the road and if it's not corrected or tweaked today. Number 3, I live here too. This gets them to realize and grow awareness that they share the space with others, which in turn will benefit them in the future if it all starts at home. All right, now let's keep going with the 5 ways to get kids to listen. Are you ready? Let's go. Number 4, to get kids to listen, I've said I'm one person cleaning for 5 people. Okay. Use the number of people that are in your household, of course. Whatever that number, include yourself too. Cleaning for one person, which is typically ourselves, is one thing. But cleaning for more people all the time, well, I don't need to paint that picture for you, do I? I gotta confess, out of frustration, I've said this out loud in the past. I'm one person cleaning for 5 people. I've said it, but not often. But when it's those times where life is just busy, things are coming in from all sides, and there just doesn't seem to be any time for anyone to stop, look, pick up, and put away, it's crazy. It just happened one morning as I write this episode out during the morning rush. Well, I shouldn't say rush because the kids weren't rushing. We were doing great in time. We were just in the middle of making their breakfast and putting their lunches together. I was there assisting, cutting up vegetables, and just making sure they had what they needed, and there it was, in the middle of the kitchen floor. A rag. People were talking and kicking it around and just not doing anything. And it's not like they couldn't feel it or anything. They were barefoot. They just weren't aware that there was something on the floor that someone could have just stopped to pick up. But no. So as much as I was burning inside to say something, I waited. I waited to see if someone, anyone, would notice. Nothing. So I ended up doing it myself. Oftentimes, it feels like the only person who realizes the house is a mess, realizes that things aren't where they should be, or realizes that other stuff has been sitting there for days or even weeks, and finally stops to do something about it, it's you. I don't know. It's as though everyone waits for us to flip out before they move. In hindsight, I see now why my mom would get so mad and frustrated. And I also remember us as teens being so into our things that we didn't even realize the state of the house around us. Now, my kids aren't teens yet, so I can't really expect them to realize and clean things up as they go. That takes years of discipline and consistency to form that habit. If you ask a child behavior specialist and psychologist, I'm sure there's a term and a reason for this, but as the parent on the other end of their wits, it's really tough to even form that habit. So when I said I don't use these words often, I'm one person cleaning for 5, I think back and I believe it was last summer the last time I used it actually. And when I said it, it was out loud and very clear. They all moved, like really moved. They heard and felt the frustration and desperation in my tone. Let me be clear. I didn't want it to sound whiny or naggy at all. It's not my style, and I hate that. I think it's safe to say that all parents have been there before, multiple times. So you know where I'm coming from. I'll be honest. Part of me wanted my kids to see the effect of what it feels like to be alone in taking care of so many things, on top of running the family full time and being the go-to person for all their arguments, issues, and attention seeking for whatever it is that they need. And I want to be there for all of this. Maybe not to do everything for them or solve all their problems, but to just be present for support and guidance. And that's my goal, to be present, to be the guide and support for our family. And my goal for you too, with what I teach in my courses and what I provide for you in my podcast. But it's a lot sometimes, this parenting thing. So I don't often use this method because I don't want my kids to only help out around the house when I'm at my wit's end. Or, as my brother once wrote on a box filled with Christmas decoration, don't open until mom flips out. It's not a lasting impression or the push notification that I'd want the kids to have in order for them to help out around the house, right? Which brings me to number 5. To get kids to listen, I say, I need your help. Now this, if anything, and unlike the last method, this is the one I'll often say. And as difficult as it is for me to even say this, I'll say the same thing to my husband. Rarely though, because I like figuring things out on my own, if you didn't already know from previous episodes. I'm more used to that, and it's just who I am. When it comes to the kids, though, when I'm asking for help, it's plain, simple, clear instructions that can't go unnoticed. Often, after I say, I need help, I'll tell them what the problem is, my roadblock, and I give them the chance to chime in with their solutions. Now, just to be candid here, I don't say this like the same way all the time. Don't think that the way I say it here today and now is exactly the same way I say it all the time. Sometimes there is a little bit of frustration, just to be real with you. Sometimes I'm able to stop and say things calmly. I am human, so I try my best and give the instructions and try to convey my message that I need help, and I'm inviting them to find the solution with me. I'm all about taking advantage of the moments we can take for teaching kids, like stop, calmly and clearly explain, guide and encourage them, follow through with them, or follow up afterwards. These opportunities are all out there, ready to be taken advantage of. We just have to be able to slow down and grab them. Now, can I do whatever it is that I'm asking for help with alone? Yes, of course. But do I need to do it all alone all the time? No, absolutely not. And this is one of my core beliefs as a parent, a mom, a woman of today's world, when I started my professional organizing business and being more present online. I strongly believe that keeping our home and life organized shouldn't have to fall on one person all the time, 24/7. It's not why we're here in the world, not by a long shot. And it's not how I want our family, for our kids to think either, that either they have to take on all the household chores and work, plus taking care of the kids and everything else on their own, or even relying on someone else to do everything because that's the way they've always known growing up. Can you see their future or your life today being repeated in the next generation? I hear tons of people saying this, and I've read this in many Facebook groups. Oh, it's just faster if I do it myself. It'll be done the way I want if I do it myself. And also, it's just easier this way. I hear you. And sure, it might be faster, easier, and done properly. But like any organization or company, it can't function or even run long-term when it depends on only one person's efforts, time, energy, wisdom, expertise, care, speed, know-how, efficiency, and so much more. It's impossible. And in the organization of your world, that person is you, burning the candle on both ends. And then we're back to being frustrated and overwhelmed because we're spreading ourselves way too thin. We have no patience, energy left, or even time for anything or anyone else. And that anyone usually is our own self-care and development. Oh, this vicious cycle must stop. As parents, it's our job, teaching kids, whether they're our own or extended families, the neighborhood kids, they're our future. Will they be able to function, be in stable relationships, successful in life, confident, capable? Okay. I just gave you tons of examples and a sneak peek of my world. So let's go over the 5 ways to get kids to listen. Number 1, let's look at the big picture. This is the method that's about zooming out and looking at our situation from an aerial point of view. Number 2, future home owner story. This contrasts what their habits and behaviors are like today with the results if they continue down the road and it's not corrected or tweaked today. Number 3, I live here too. This gets them to realize and grow awareness that they share the space with others, which in turn will benefit them in the future if it all starts at home. Number 4, I'm one person cleaning for X number of people. Having to take care of the mess for more than one person grows their awareness of the work you do every day for everyone. Number 5, I need your help. This is self-explanatory and a great teaching opportunity for them to help come up with solutions and get involved. You just have to be clear with your message in that it's simple, be there to guide and support. This method will stick with them in the long run. Guess what? There is a bonus one for you. Now, this is a little more like number 3, I live here too, where that places me on one side and them on the other. This bonus method I'm going to give you puts all of us on the same boat. My tone and intention came from a place of being present, here and now, and for them to look around. So if you haven't guessed it already, it's about slowing down and looking around you. So like many households, the common areas are constantly cluttered or disorganized. This would be the kitchen, dining space, and the living room, or even the den. Well, our home is pretty open concept and it's not a very big house. So wherever you're standing, you can pretty much see everything except for the bedrooms. Anyhow, this particular morning, I was just a little annoyed. 1, we were running late for school. 2, one kid was still in his PJs doing homework at the computer that wasn't even due for that day. Plus, he hadn't even eaten yet, and they should be out the door very soon. Ugh, can you feel my frustration brewing? Well, he did make his bed though, so I gave him that. So after addressing all that in a calm but assertive voice, the kitchen counters caught my eye. Even more this time. Not like I didn't notice it in the past. I knew the counters were filled with stuff, but I'd push these thoughts back in my mind and say, later, later. Anyways, I stopped. They noticed. I took a breath and they watched, waiting. What would come out? And I could imagine what they'd be thinking right there and then. Is she going to explode? Yell? Scream? Flip out? All the while reminding myself to slow down. As Dr. Siggy says on Instagram. Follow her if you haven't yet. She's amazing. And then I said what I had to say calmly and as clearly as I could. Now, side note, this is a lot mentally, emotionally, and physically to keep from spewing out what you really feel and what you're really thinking. Kind of like a tantrum. I know, right now, in hindsight, it sounds and looks pretty ridiculous, right? But I'm being completely honest and open with you here. This is real talk. So back to these really angry feelings, that doesn't serve them at all. And I wanted also to challenge myself to be better, to do better. After all, this is what I tell them all the time in follow-up conversations when talking about our thoughts and actions. We have to try to be better and do better next time. So this was me practicing what I preach. Now, I can't remember the exact words I used, but it was something like this. It would be really appreciated, because we all contribute to it, that once in a while, or often actually, is that whenever you're in a room or leaving one, take a minute to look around and just see if there's anything in that room that shouldn't even be there. To take it with you and put it away. I then showed them the kitchen island. I asked, do you see anything here that doesn't belong in this area? I just need us all to be a little more aware of our surroundings. We all live here too. We're all creating messes here and there. The idea for this perspective is to show our kids, that you too, the parent, will need help with maintaining the house. No one said you had to do life alone. Parenting's hard enough as it is, and I think if we can use whatever help we can get to help us get through the day-to-day. Now, maybe not all of these tips and tricks will resonate or work with your family. There are some that will. The thing that can help for sure, though, is when you take these tools, tips, and tricks, tweak them to make them your own so that it applies to your family and your situation. If you get the desired results or something close to it, you know you're doing something right and you're on the right track. So keep going. And just a reminder, this is a lot of mental focus and work on your part. So please be patient with yourself if you don't get the desired results right away. It takes time and lots of patience and practice. So give yourself grace, my friend. So finding your parent support group, listen to Dr. Siggy, or keep listening to this podcast. I hope it helps you. My mission is to help as many parents as I can be in the moment be present for their kids, to help guide them, and also have time for your own self-care, self-development, and do the things that are important to you. We can only achieve this with space to think, to move, and to rest. So I hope these methods help you move forward. I'd love to know if they do. So drop me a direct message on Instagram at OneTidyPlace. I link it in the show notes. Thank you for tuning in today, my friend. If you found today's episode or any episode helpful or insightful, please share this link with a friend or 3 via email or text. I also love reading your reviews on Apple Podcast. I may just read them on an episode in the future and give you lots of love and thanks. All right, my friend, have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you back here next time. Same awesome time, same awesome place. Bye for now.